The Omega Code. So, this is a movie. I believe this was 1999, 2000, which you can really tell from watching it. Not just from the effects, but from the themes going on here. This strikes me, for a number of reasons, as sort of an attempt to jump on the bandwagon of sort of the popular conspiracy theories and anxieties of the 1999-2000 millennium Y2K stuff. This movie was funded pretty significantly by the Trinity Broadcasting Network, which you might know is sponsoring a bunch of evangelists on television. I feel like this was an attempt to sort of piggyback on the sort of conspiracy theory stuff and try to get converts out of that. So this is a pretty standard Christian apocalypse tale, which actually has the makings for an okay movie if you did it well. This doesn't. There's a lot of, potentially pretty interesting, bizarre things to try and put on film, like out of Revelation and that kind of crap. But this film doesn't do anything like that. The other thing that's really notable is that this one it sort of injects conservative sort of talking points, that's about the only thing that's even sort of entertaining about it. But yeah, to start with the plot on this, the Omega Code. The Omega Code itself is the Bible code, which is this conspiracy theory that there is a hidden code in the Bible that predicts events and stuff. We are presented with our lead character, played by Casper Van Dien, of Starship Troopers and a bunch of crap, who is a horrible actor, and is a particularly horrible actor in this movie. He is a motivational speaker and theology professor who is, I guess, like neo-spiritual, not Christian, basically, and has deciphered the Omega Code and is talking about it and inspiring people or something. It's not totally clear. In any case, he's apparently famous enough that he's recruited by the head of the UN or European Union or something like that, who's played by Michael York, you might know as Logan from Logan's Run, or at least what I knew him from childhood, is Austin Powers' boss. So it's really hard to take him seriously as, spoilers, Satan. So yeah, he plays essentially Satan. Not at first, I think he gets possessed partway through the movie after an assassination, but yeah, he's pretty hammy. He's actually almost watchable. Whenever he's on screen, he's watchable. As opposed to whenever Casper's on screen and you just want to stop it. You just want to make everything go away. Other notables in this movie, the only big other person I can think of is Michael Ironside, who is sort of the henchman and sort of the muscle for the Satan guy, and as a former priest, and somehow knows how to kill people effectively. Anyway, the plot plods along with Casper Van Dien's character helping out this guy come up with a plan for world peace. Eventually, he gets contacted by these, I guess, underground Christian folk who say he needs to save himself and stop bad things from happening, because it turns out the Satan guy is using the Omega Code to predict events and conquer the world? Doesn't make a lot of sense at any point. So, yeah, pretty much it's, eventually he turns on him, and then there's a bunch of shenanigans that happen, and things eventually sort out, and whatever. This is a low-budget movie, even though, it actually did okay at the box office. It was only really screened in the more religious areas, surprise, surprise. So this is a very similar situation like God's Not Dead recently, where this had its base. It did not, I don't think, get out to the people that they aimed it at, which were these conspiracy theorists trying to break Christian theology to the mainstream, but it did play well to its own choir. So, I mentioned the acting is really bad in this, and that's absolutely true. All the acting is pretty horrible. The story is really not good. The dialogue is particularly not good. The people that wrote this movie just didn't have any kind of experience. I don't know what happened here. The director's done some other minor things, but yeah, the writing just wasn't good enough. There's the premise here. Could be an interesting thriller thing. but it was just executed really poorly. The director is like half competent, I guess, with shots, but still not great, and then everything else is subpar. The only other thing I can mention is the effects are okay for the low budget this movie was until the very end. In the final scene, it looks bad, and I had to think in my mind what else came in like 1999, 2000. When you think of it like that, it really doesn't compare well, and it really shows how low budget it is. One thing, it's clearly a pandering film, where it's trying to pander to a certain set of people to get a message across, and everything in the movie is really heavy-handed. Like, the neo sort of conservative talking points that are thrown in there, things like the oppression of Christians and religious people and all this whatnot, how they portray that is just so immensely heavy-handed. I think there's one scene I'm remembering was right after this guy, Satan, declares himself God, or whatever stupid crap he does. There are a bunch of protesting religious people claiming that he's a heretic and are trying to overthrow him because of heresy, I guess? I don't know. People finally caught on that this super skeevy dude's not okay, is the idea. And then they're like, this is heresy, and then a police officer does the fakest punch I've ever seen in a movie, and then there's a riot or something. Yeah, it's just... Also, they portray the UN as the most evil of evil things, and there's even like a scene where they're doing a crossfire sort of show, talking about how the UN is bad or whatever, and it makes the conservative dude look totally reasonable within the scope of the plot. And there's crap like that. It's when you're trying to do that kind of thing, don't be like Birdemic and beat people over the head with your message. Try to be subtle a little bit, just a wee bit. Yeah. So this movie's not subtle, which just goes back to the writing not being very good. The pandering bit is what really, really annoyed me in this, because it really dates the movie significantly. The last shot of this movie is the little machine thing that reads the Omega code or whatever, has this last reading that's like, a new millennium, a new beginning, which is like, oh, so this was released in 1999 then. So, yeah. A lot of people seem to think that this is a good, bad movie. And there are some entertaining, like, hammy acting points and really enough incompetence for it to be mildly amusing. But I did not think this was in the ranks of, like, a really good, bad movie. This movie isn't in the bottom 100 anymore. It was back in the day. But I'm not really surprised by that. I mean, most people just choose to kind of ignore these religious movies that come out. But then again, they also have their own following. Like, the people that they're marketed to, like the hyper-evangelical Christians and whatnot, are, like, out there and on IMDb, and they will vote in favor of these movies because they love them. I mean, they're made for them, in theory. So, yeah, so that's going to always sort of distort the rankings. And still, this has, like, a 3.4 or something on IMDb, so it's not good, but I think there's enough a minority of positive people out there towards this movie that, it's not going to sink back into the bottom 100. It has quite a ways to go to get back down there. Yeah, it isn't good, though. I think it's worthy of being in the bottom 100, but only just barely. Like, the little things are okay. Like, there's no horrible sound editing. The cinematography is thoroughly average. There's nothing, like, the little things. That's when you know you're dealing with a real bottom-of-the-barrel crap, is when the little things like that should be invisible when done competently stand out. Things like Birdemic's sound editing, to bring up Birdemic again, that's the sort of thing that stands out. But there's not really, that sort of stuff doesn't stand out in this. It's mostly acting, writing, dialogue stuff, which certainly makes it bad, but it doesn't make it the worst. So that is the Omega Code.
On the eve of the new millennium.
Somebody out there say change. That's right.
The truth about the ancient prophecies is about to be revealed.
You and I, we have a higher calling.
The warnings that can't be ignored.
Early tests are confirming that the ocean's molecular structure has somehow mutated.
The answers the world has been waiting for.
I need you to be my spokesman for this new world, my prophet.
And the power that will set us free.
There is a war going on between angels of light and dark.
Or destroy all mankind.
We are recanting our support and declaring you a heretic.
Who will hold the power in the new millennium?
I want a quick strategic nuclear strike.
Prepare yourself for the revelations of the Code.
I was Judas, betraying Christ to be crucified. I was Hitler, leading millions to the slaughter. I died so that you might live.
Casper Van Dien, Michael York, Michael Ironside, and Catherine Oxenberg. The Omega Code.